It's not a theoretical academic course. It's not about analytics, it's about how do you do things. Every year in April, we run this humanitarian simulation exercise in Harold Parker Forest, just north of Boston, in what's really a sort of live impromptu theater going on. There's a big refugee crisis. You have a certain amount of information as a relief team. Now come up with a plan. Only, of course, there's all sorts of distractions.
So you come out with a really good intellectual understanding of what to expect when you go into the field, but it's a whole other thing to actually be able to put your knowledge into practice, especially when you're in such a tense situation, such an insecure situation, and you have all these other events that are being thrown at you that you have to deal with.
You never know how you're going to react in a specific situation until you're put in that situation, and I'm the principal example of that. I sat through the lectures and I thought that, you know, I can see myself doing this, but when I found myself in this situation, it was much more difficult to actually react effectively and think clearly. But I'm glad that it happened when it could be exercised in a safe way and not when it was real and I put other people's lives in danger.
We have a mix of students. So about a third of the students are from Tufts University, about another third are from Harvard University, and then another third of our students are from all over the world. And those are usually aid workers, members of the military, or workers for the United Nations. The first time I went on a field deployment, it was to an earthquake zone in the mountains of Pakistan. And I remember thinking that it was going to be very exciting. What I found instead was there was a lot of paperwork to do. There were reports to submit. I was expecting to get out there and save the world. And the real work of humanitarian aid is a little more subtle sometimes.
I worked in the aid business for 20 years before coming to Tufts, and so I take things that I know happen to me. The other thing that increasingly I want to build into the simulations is the mindsets you've got to have. This ability to deal with ambiguity, the lack of information, and the ability to make decisions in a very humble way. And you'd be amazed how many people at the end of it, one of the things I've said, I never realized how bad I was at listening. I was so intent on getting the job done, I didn't actually stop to listen to the person who was suffering.
I think measuring success is one of the biggest challenges actually in this field, and also was in the simulation. You just were forced to make a decision on the spot, and so I did have moments where, in retrospect, I thought if only I would have been able to take a step back and reconsider. I think the simulation in a way taught me a lot about myself. It reaffirmed my belief that this is what I want to work in, and I think it was such a valuable experience.
I just love the fact that we have students come out of this inspired. They actually come out and say, you know what, I can see how I could actually do this and make a difference. And it's the quiet leadership. It's the person who's maybe not said much in class, but actually people look to that person because they don't panic, you know? And hang on, there's leadership material of a different sort. It's great.